Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge we had this morning. Windsor Canadian. This was one people had asked me about for a long time, and I finally did a solo review and then taste challenges. Look, I'm down to a third of the bottle. That's how much I've gone through with just the taste challenges and the solo review. Windsor Canadian, imported obviously from Canada. Typical label with the crown, the shield, supremely smooth, that's their calling card. Blended Canadian whiskey. They used to have it listed on the Beam-Suntory website, but it's been taken off, so don't try to look it up. You won't find it. This whiskey is 3 years old. Deerfield, Illinois. That's where it's bottled. It's produced in Canada, but bottled in the U.S., just like Canadian Club. Lord Calvert Canadian whiskey. Now, this one is from the Beam-Suntory days because it says the same thing. Age 36 months, Deerfield, Illinois. Well, now it's, excuse me, now it's bottled in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, by Luxco. Luxco bought it. This has been on the market since at least 1964, and evidence I've dug up shows long before 64. And maybe they're not even aware of the evidence I found. The old bottle that's probably at least 80, 95, 85, 90 years old. But anyway, so has Lord Calvert changed since it was sold off to Luxco 4 years ago? I doubt it. I don't see why they would change it. You know, you don't alienate your followers, but they could have. But it's still 80 proof, aged 3 years, and it was always that way, I believe. So I was impressed with the Windsor when I had it. It seemed to me like a young version of Canadian Club. Canadian Club's age 5 years. Used to be 6 years. This is age 3 years. So could they just be taking a Canadian Club after 3 years aging, then bottling it? I guess they could be doing that because it does taste remarkably like Canadian Club. Tell you the truth, the Lord Calvert doesn't taste too different from Canadian Club. Could be a young, when it was at Beam. I don't know. I know this much. If you get on the Luxco website, which is luxco.com, I'll put the Lord Calvert below the link. But you can get to that link from Luxco. But they must have 25 different Canadian whiskey brands. Are they all pretty much the same? I'm sure. Probably some of them are the same, different labels. Have I tried any of them? Yeah, this one, the Lord Calvert. The gee whiz Luxco has, and there's a Lord Calvert Black, which I'd like to try. Had my chance, missed my chance. My own stupidity. But then, of course, you can't have everything. Like, I want to try this, I want to try that, I want to try this, I want to try that. You can't. Like, in a way, it might be a better idea if you're doing video reviews and stuff, just to concentrate on one company, like say, I'm only going to do Crown Royal and all their variants. Well, that'll keep you busy for a decade. Or I'm only going to do Beam-Suntory products, or just Jim Beam whiskey. That'll keep you busy for a long time, but all the variants. And then by the time you catch up, they're going to come out with 10 more. So it's difficult. Like, I'm jumping here, jumping there. And you cannot keep up with it. Same with beer. I used to get stressed out, like, I got to try them all. Then I realized it's not going to happen. You cannot do it. So when I see people post video reviews for beers, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get that. I don't know if I'll ever see it. Okay, so we got Lord Calvert and Jim Beam. Yeah. Lord Calvert and Windsor. They look the same. They're both gold. Same shade of gold, like straight up gold. Remarkably similar, like I said, to the Canadian Club. Now, I know some people hate Canadian Club. They'll make comments sometimes. That's the worst stinking Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club. And I'm like, nah, I can give you a list of Canadian whiskey is way worse than that. And if you ask me, I think Canadian Club is pretty good, but that's me. You know? And they're 12-year age, the classic 12 special edition. That's really good. I got two coming up. They're gonna probably cause, well, one won't cause controversy because no one's gonna care. You know, the heir to the throne. You know, that one in the fancy bottle with the cork that nobody can get. You know, that one from a company that's out of business, Rebel Spirits. Yeah, that thing, that oddball of all oddballs that I bought at Walmart 3 years ago. Talk about a strange item. Tastes pretty grim, pretty bad. The Gibson's Finest Rare, aged 12 years. I was thoroughly unimpressed with it as I drunk it down. Now, the first time I tasted it, yeah, I was bragging on it. Then I started putting it in taste challenges, and that's where it just broke down. And every tasting was worse than the previous. So don't say that there's no value to blind taste tests, because I'm going to come back. I mean, you could say it, it's your opinion, but I'm going to come back and say there is value, there is value, there is value. And quite a bit of value. And I told you I had that discussion with Erica Lyons fan last week. I said, do you think you would ever do blind taste tests with malt liquors or whatever? No, because you didn't see the value in it. I would like to explain to him the value in it, because there's a very large amount of value in it. You want a double blind taste test. What's your go-to beer, says Dapro? Well, recently it's been like everybody else's go-to beer, Keystone Ice. Ronnie S. is buying Keystone Ice 15 packs for $5.99 at Dollar General in Florida. Well, that's an unheard of price here. We get it for $7.99, which here in Louisiana is a fabulous price. So it's like you can't even imagine that you could get it for $5.99 a 15 pack. But Keystone Ice, which is an ale rather than a lager, it doesn't make it better, because ales usually are a faster production, top fermenting, don't need to age them as long. Kind of a shortcut in a way, in some respects. So, but whatever the case, it's obviously cheaply made. How are they going to sell it for $7.99 a 15 pack or $5.99? But it comes across really good, and it's certified kosher. So we're a big Keystone Ice trumpeters, and my friend David Garlapede, the big beard, we all like Keystone Ice. We're part of the Keystone Ice Nation. Why not a Keystone Revolution? Why not a Keystone Revolution? All right. I think this is going to be a real challenge, because I don't think I'll be able to tell them apart. I don't think, but we'll see. We're going to see right now. Honeycomb cereal. A lot of these Canadian whiskeys taste like honeycomb cereal. Just add milk. You got it. No, but they do. Getting a little wood here, a little spiciness in the nose, which is probably coming from rye grain. You know, rye bread, Reuben sandwich, that kind of thing. So, I think that's the Windsor, but isn't it from Alberta? And isn't it popular out in those parts of Canada? Windsor, even though Windsor's in Ontario, the city of Windsor, which I've been to a few times. I think this product is made out in the interior plains at the foot of the Rockies. Okay, they don't smell the same. These glasses are clean. I clean them with extremely hot water and soap. This one's more caramel candy corn. Not a little rye spice, but not so much. Not so much. More of a corn-oriented experience. And candy syrup. Candy syrup. You say, well, maybe they're using sweet corn syrup to make the whiskey. They're distilling that. Could be. Yeah, this one's less sweet. This one's drier in the nose, and you know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's maybe more barley bread. So my initial impression is that this is the Windsor, and this is the Lord Calvert. If your only experience is bourbon whiskey, forget it. These are going to smell, they're going to look and smell totally unlike bourbon whiskey. I mean, talk about a divergence. You say, yeah, but they both made with mostly corn. Canadian whiskey uses corn as the filler. So does bourbon. I know, but they don't taste alike. They don't smell alike. They don't look alike. They're just not alike, except they're both from North America. So it's a big crossover. It may intrigue you. You may want to do it, or it may turn you off. I don't know. They got Canadian whiskey. People can't stand bourbon. They got bourbon. People can't stand Canadian whiskey. And they got people like me that like both. But it's fine. Either of the three choices is perfectly fine. You say, what if I don't like any of those three? You know, I don't like whiskey in general. I don't like Canadian. I don't like bourbon. That's fine too. Get a little wood here, strangely, oddly, interestingly. Barrel, wood, no char though, but wood. You say, what are they using to age this stuff in, Mr. Powers? Oh, you know what they're using, old used Jim Beam barrels. Might use those things for 80 years, maybe longer. Is it going to impart any charcoal flavor or aroma? No, because the first run is going to suck all that up. The first running is the most intense, strongest, like coffee, right? The whole idea of reusing the tea bag or the coffee grounds. It's not going to be the same. That's why when you buy that Kirin Ichiban beer, Kirin Ichiban, they only use the first run of the wort. They don't double dose it. So it's so rich in the flavor. Maybe too rich. You might taste it and think it's nasty because it's so strong in the flavor. But I like that 5% Japanese originated beer. Of course, you're going to pay more for it. What do you expect? Candy, rock candy corn, some wood, surprisingly, rye. Oh, tastes like Lord Calvert a little bit. Does price have a factor in this tasting? No, it does not. I bought the Windsor Canadian at Winn-Dixie for $10.99. It is supremely smooth, like they say, I have to admit. I bought the Lord Calvert at Budget Saver, sorry. Labourie's Budget Saver. It's a chain of grocery stores on the west bank of the Mississippi River in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. That was $10.99. But it was actually more than $10.99 because they add 10% at the register, you know, one of those cost plus places. So it really wasn't that good of a deal. So it was more like $12. All right, but forgot about that. Jean-Pierre knows about that because he goes to Greer's in Mobile. Everything's cost plus 10%. It's a strategy to bring in high volume shoppers and high volume sales. I buy my beer a lot of times at Food for Less here because it's a cost plus 10% market. And the good thing about it is even with the 10% add-on uptick, I can get Steel Reserve 211 6%. I wouldn't buy the 8.1, but the 6% Steel Reserve 211, I can get that for $4.28, a 6-pack of pint cans. $4.28 a 6-pack. That's after the add-on. I can get Milwaukee's Best Ice for the same price. I think they got rid of Milwaukee's Best Ice over there though. You know why? Wasn't selling. And that was all right, man. Actually, Actually, I think the Steel Reserve is 438. 438, and the Milwaukee's best ice was 428. But whatever, it's going, so I'm not worrying about it. But still, what you get the point. It's cheap, even with the add-on. All stores add on. That's the retail cost. They just don't show it on they don't show it on a receipt. But they might add 20% above cost, or more. These are remarkably similar, really, when you get down to it. You want to get down to it, you're ready to get down to it. They're not that different. You're looking at same price, essentially, same aging, 3 years, same color. This one's more candy corn sweet. This one's a little drier, so to speak, meaning not sweet. Are they world class? I mean, no one's going to ask that question because they both $10.99 a bottle. You know you're not getting world class whiskey for $10.99. So it's pointless to even bring that up. We know that. Is it acceptable? Yes, and more so. More than acceptable. They're actually good. They taste good. I would recommend them. I like them. I would drink them. I'm drinking them now. There's nothing repulsive about them. They're enjoyable. Now, are they as good as Crown Royal? I don't know. I have almost zero experience with Crown Royal, okay? Do I intend to buy a bottle and start throwing it into taste challenges? I sure do intend to. Is it going to live up to its price point, $23 a bottle? That's the big question. That's the big question. You're paying twice as much. Are you getting twice the payoff? I don't know. I suspect that you're probably not, even though it's made with 50 different whiskeys. The question is it twice as good? Well. This is a tie because it's all a preference thing. You want sweeter and sugary and candy like the Lord Calvert. You want a drier, maybe a little bit more traditional Canadian blended whiskey. You go with the Windsor. It is older, been on the market way longer. But still, it's a personal preference. It's not a quality issue. They're both fine. So I'm going to say tie in price, tie in quality, tie in flavor generally. The body's the same, like medium bodied, and the finish is the same. Moderate, not lingering to where you're sick of it, but doesn't drop right off where you can't even remember what you just sipped. So I'm going to say this better not say LC. Now, if this says LC, that means I couldn't tell them apart. Ha, it doesn't. Ha, 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 ha. I got them right. I did it. So is it possible to take two very similar Canadian blended whiskeys and tell them apart? Yeah, it is. I just did it. Now, you say, well, that's nothing remarkable. It's a 50-50 shot. It's like flipping a coin. That's true. It is a 50-50 shot. Even if you do a total guess, you got a 50% chance of getting it right. But I didn't do a total guess. I really thought about it, considered it, tested the flavors, and I did tell them apart. And they don't taste the same. Similar, not the same. So they're quite obviously not the same recipe in two different bottle labels. There's no way that's the case. Do I recommend tasting these at 5:45 in the morning? I don't recommend that. It's 5:40, 5:59 Central Time right now, Central Daylight Time. I don't recommend that. I do that for just the novelty of it, the dawn, and here comes the sun as we continue. It's still dark right now. But as a general practice, I wouldn't recommend it. But anyway, that's part of the Dawnbusters scenario. So, all right, I got two kind of crummy ones coming up. In my opinion, they're crummy. Still might be interesting taste challenges the next Sunday coming up tomorrow and Tuesday, but we'll see. Then we're going to bring in some Sazerac items. All right, so thanks for watching this video production.